is Blacklisted Radio. Welcome once again. It's the 28th day of June 2015. My name is Doug Owen. I'm your host. For the next hour, we will talk about the craziness that's happened over the last 2 weeks since we last did the live show. I hope all of you had a nice Father's Day, if you don't hate your fathers. And, it's a Hallmark holiday, but dads don't get enough. So I took that day off, enjoyed it with the family. Lucky for me, I didn't go out into the melee trying to find a place to eat. It always seems like, a really bad idea to, unless you, I've changed my mind. Change of heart. Probably a good idea to sit down and wait for an hour, maybe two, to eat with your family. Give you an opportunity to talk to them again. So maybe it's not a bad thing, but what a 2 weeks it's been. That's all I can say. By the way, my name is Doug Owen. I am the senior editor of blacklistednews.com. My website, blacklistedradio.com, is the hub. It is the place to go for the show. Exclusive content, interactive chat room during the live show, and whenever you like, you can also text me throughout the duration of the show, anytime throughout the week, 512-222-3067. And, I think we should talk about the cultural revolution that is happening, or at least the faux, completely synthetic dialogue that is happening between the races. And, a lot about flags and a lot about gay marriage. Actually was chastised. A lot of people were surprised that I didn't give the Supreme Court ruling that gay marriage or marriage equality is afforded to all very much attention. And I'll tell you why. I do have an opinion about gay marriage. I have a very strong opinion that not too many people on the left or the right, Christians, conservatives, liberals, people, George Soros's gay agenda, New American, whatever you want to call it, not really on board with either of those thoughts when it comes to marriage and the state and what that really is. So, flags. Let's talk about flags for a moment, because icons of culture and history have become the target of those that feel oppressed, that feel wronged, and feel unequal in this society today. Here in Austin, there was the Jefferson Davis monument, among many others that were defaced across the nation with things like hashtag, which just the fact that it's a hashtag kind of bothers you. You're like, oh, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Everyone's lives matter. If you have lots of money, your life is probably better protected. And that's kind of the thing I think most people miss when it comes to equality. And it's not so much the color of your skin, it's who you know and how much cash you have in the bank or in your house or assets. That's really what matters in America. And you can pay for justice. One of the things that's unique to this country is that criminal conspiracy is completely legal. You can conspire to work against your constituents if you're a politician, for profit, for jobs, for favors. It's not bribery. It's business as usual. So when it comes to equality, the fact that there are icons of things that offend or make people feel uncomfortable, that are offensive, whether it's the stars and bars, the rebel flag, a Nazi swastika, I can't stand it. I see Che Guevara shirts all the time. People, it's in fashion to wear communist, maniac, dictator, genocidal people on their shirts, and it's kind of cool. I see a lot of Mao Zedong shirts. Nobody minds General Mao and his cultural revolution. And let's be honest, it's alive and well in the United States of America if you're watching the TV. So you might as well talk about the gorilla in the room, and that is the rebel flag. Stars and bars, what it means, and what it means to censor the rebel flag. Now, when it comes to flags and representation of the state and things that change, I'm indifferent to whether or not South Carolina or any other state incorporate the rebel flag, the Confederate flag. I mean, it wasn't a flag that was identified by "We Own Slaves." It's not the "We Own Slaves" flag. It was the flag of the government that lost the war, and a bit of it did have to do with slavery, but it was more about control because slave owners had several votes. They would get more votes, and so the states in the North also felt very inferior as far as being able to go outside of the country and to be able to. They had the mechanization, but the South had agriculture and plenty of foodstuffs. So, some people say it's the war of northern aggression. I think, the truth in it really lies in more of the gray areas. It was about, solidifying the Union, not allowing the states, 10th Amendment rights, all of that stuff, all of that good stuff that kind of keeps the federal government sometimes, if everybody wasn't completely compromised, in check, one of the balances. But nonetheless, I know I'm on a diatribe here, but the flag symbolizes the Confederacy. And much more than that, it was ingrained. It was part of the government up until the point that the North felt that, South Carolina, of course, kind of succeeded from the Union, and that started the ball rolling. You don't need a history lesson. You can find it out there. But that's really what the flag symbolizes in my mind, anyway. Do I have rebel flags? No. But I'm in Texas. That's just not. And I'm not a big statist, I'm not one of these too proud of Texas guys that just has Texas paraphernalia all over the place. I'm not. I don't consider it to be the high priest. So, statism and the worshiping of the state and what flags fly over it doesn't really bother me. And the idea that you can get rid of those flags, these symbols that do not really have a great historical context in the minds of most Americans. You ask most Americans, and they're going to say that, Civil War was about slavery. Well, yeah, but it was about it wasn't about equal rights and all of the things that, the Republican, Lincoln, really cared about. I mean, they wanted to send black people back. It wasn't that they were equal. It was that they didn't want to be outnumbered, and they didn't want to be at a disadvantage to the southern states. And so, they got on their high horse, and the North decided to try their best to, and succeeded in bringing the Union back together. Like it, love it, hate it. It's what it is today. So, flags, you can burn them. That's your right. I don't understand why people do this throughout history. You can ban books. It doesn't work very well. I still hear people in Congress talking about the anarchist cookbook. Talk about outdated and antiquated, and the technology and the hacking skills and life hacker tricks to being a poor man's James Bond you're going to find it there. I mean, it's just, kind of laughable. But the notion that you can ban things, that you can stop society from being violent and brutal and all the things that the human beings are with the wave of a pen is complete hubris. So, I'm amazed that the media has done its best to obfuscate some of the real important things happening, like TPP, the economy, the bond market, just about to explode, and some of the other, more interesting caveats to what's happening in the Ukraine, especially in Greece, which the saga continues in Greece. But we're not getting a lot of coverage because, we got to talk about the flag all day long and whether or not it should go. And, of course, even if the people, the cultural revolutionists, get their way, it's not going to change the way that you're treated by the state. It's absolutely not going to change any of the things that you hope to accomplish by getting rid of those symbols. All it does is actually breed a lot more resentment and pushes people farther and farther apart. So the state, how it has been able over the last 60 years, pretty much post-LBJ era, has been able to make people equal. The Great Society. How's that working for everybody? Anyway, the Supreme Court also had some other interesting things I thought were more notable. Supreme Court says it's not against your Fifth Amendment right to suck blood out of you at a DWI checkpoint. I don't know what to say about this. I mean, the analysis is pretty much the same with any Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court has ruled many times, and it's completely politically motivated, but and almost all of these decisions are none of them are unanimous. At least the latest round of Supreme Court decisions. So even the masterminds of the law, the high priests of society, disagree on whether the Affordable Health Care Act and the government being able to force you to buy health care in your best interest, people, in your best interests, of course. That's okay. That is, I think, huge because it affects all of us. And once the government can force you to buy whatever it may be for your own good, and it doesn't matter. I mean, insurance policies which enrich those that created the Affordable Health Care Act, admittedly, the health insurance companies, not to mention the out-of-control drug companies and all of the others that profit from the machine of sickness. It's big money. That's why the media doesn't talk about drugs or doesn't really focus on their role in mass shootings. Why? I mean, if you turn on any cable news network, I don't care what it is, I would say 80% of the commercials are from drug companies. So you don't kick the mouth that feeds you or the horse that you rode in on. It's just not a good idea. And so you can never expect media, corporate media, to be candid and open and honest. That's why there's really no way for me to do this show with corporate sponsored media, although the network is brick and mortar and has to operate for the simulcasting through Republic that we do. But as far as being able to take people and use them as a commodity or use them as a way to get money from sponsors that are going to sell you a product that you may or may not be interested in. If you have great sponsors and good people and things you believe in, then it's fine. It might not be a conflict of interest. If it's Lunesta, if it's Pfizer, you're going to get a lot more money for sure, but you're not going to do in-depth exposés on the mental side effects and the obvious connection that the mainstream media doesn't want to make, and that is that every time we have a mass shooting, always, the person is on some kind of psychotropic drug and always questionably may or may not have been in contact with a health professional, a psychiatrist. In many cases, in the recent past, one that was prescribed or had them under their supervision at military hospitals. Just a lot of weird stuff, right? Things that make you say, is there something more going on here? Well, Mr. Storm, I'm going to call him Stormfront, Mr. Roof, the latest mass murderer. Interesting guy. I think we should just mention it because this spawned into whether or not I can buy rebel flag paraphernalia at Amazon. You can buy Hitler iconography paraphernalia if you want on Amazon. You can buy some really sick stuff. Let's just leave it there. There's a lot of crazy stuff that you could buy on Amazon that any person with a moral compass would say that's questionable. There's a lot of stuff, but apparently the rebel flag Speedos not available anymore. Walmart can't get yourself that rebel flag that you used to be able to fly high and mighty. And it's just because people are offended by this now, and it's because the constant changing of dialect and symbols. that that we can attack. It doesn't matter what language is so powerful. Symbols are even more powerful visually. Just changing the meaning of words, confusing, changing the dialect completely perverts the meaning and allows it to be misconstrued. I mean, the holy texts. I mean, can you find books that are more fitting for whoever wants to preach a message that it is to their interest? You see it all the time. I mean, there's plenty of con men and cult leaders that get people to buy into their divinity. Anyway, that's what it comes down to for me with the state. Is that the state isn't divine. It's not God. Okay, God, whoever that may be in your mind, and ultimately who we face after we leave this plane, doesn't need the state of Texas to tell you that you're married. Really doesn't. Now, the reason that you need the state to tell you that you're married is because it gives you legal privileges in some cases. It gives you tax advantages. It allows you to get free health care on many plans. There's a bevy of reasons why people want to be recognized by the state as married. I can tell you that most of them financially are disadvantageous to you. But if you want to get married and you want to be legally bound to another human being, be my guest. I mean, if I can go down there and get that same kind of legal documentation for myself from the state, or working that out with my health insurance, my new affordable health care advocate, that's great. So I understand why people want to be married by the state, and I think that all of the arguments against it all really come down to, well, it's just not right. It's not what God wanted. Well, believe you me, if you ask for a state to do the bidding of God, that's what we're trying. At least I would like to get away from. less things that are dictated by the belief in paradise and the afterlife in whatever formation. Less of that in politics. Less of that in taxing me. I like pragmatic people when it comes to that. I'm not anti-religion. I'm just anti-exploitation. And that's what you get in government. People that want to be the gods of others and have special powers, like the police, like the state, a complete monopoly on control and violence. That's kind of a God-esque entity. So, I don't believe that the state is God. I don't think that you have to get a license, fundamentally, philosophically, in my mind, to be bound to some other human being if you want to be. And it shouldn't be the state's role. I mean, if you're really conservative, why does the state, and look into the history, please do, why does the state have a license? Why do you need a license to be married? That in and of itself should be a debate, and it's completely not being talked about, which, I think if you're going to have an open and honest debate, you have to ask, well, why do we need the state's permission? Oh, well, it's for healthcare. It's for all of the other things the state should not be involved in my mind. So, taking my blood forcibly, if you can make me buy healthcare, and they're taking my blood, taking my DNA samples and probably putting them in a U.S. military army base, without my knowledge, then what else can the government do? That's a great question. We'll follow up on the other side. More coming your way. It's Blacklisted Radio. And welcome back. It's Blacklisted Radio. 800-313-9443, toll-free number to join us if you have any comments. If you want to talk about the recent Supreme Court decisions, race wars, are they on the way? That's what one young fellow thought he was going to start. And really, if you just go to the reasoning, or at least the narrative that's being given to us about this shooting, and of course I refer to the South Carolina church shooting. The reason was that he wanted to spark a race war because he had been watching media coverage of the Trayvon murder case. And you just think about that. I mean, if you watch too much media, it drives you insane. And namely, I thought that it was more interesting the fact that he had black friends, and he told several friends before the shooting that his target was actually the college there, and that he planned on shooting it up, which, see something, say something, failed. The Department of Homeland Security, just another failed meme, another failed narrative. But, I don't know how many times a day kids say, hey, I'm going to blow everything up. So how seriously can the government or any agency take that? And what kind of Gestapo would you live in? I remember there was a little, she was like 10-year-old elementary school student that had said on her Facebook page she wanted to stab President George W. Bush, and she got a visit from the Secret Service. Anyway, when everybody's a terrorist, it's hard to keep up with everyone and prevent everyone from doing something, no matter how much the government tells you they can or spends trying to, control the masses and to protect each and every one of you out there, because, of course, that's what the government does. It's not about the Constitution. It's about protecting you, even from yourself. You might need health care, and if you don't think you need health care, well, the government is going to make you pay for it. That's kind of where we're at today. So, Health Care Act. And of course, the people that would probably be scrutinizing that are the folks that are now so excited that the state is licensing their marriages. And I get it. If you're one of those people out there, it's not that I'm cold and callous and don't think that maybe you deserve, but a right to health care, better premiums. But some of the insanity. It shows you just how the perpetrators of this new system have really looked at making sure they can profit, no matter what, no matter if it's insane. So if you are transgendered, now, under the Affordable Health Care Act, you can still get pap smears and you can still get mammograms. And I'm sure there are plenty of insurance companies that would like all of you former men and now whatever it is that you consider yourself to be. You can get a pap smear. Funny enough, Caitlyn Jenner, he still has his junk, so I don't know. I mean, he still has all of his other lower half anatomy, so that just, kind of makes him whatever. And, the debates about whether you can go into this bathroom or go into that bathroom, these rules, seems really like, just a way to get people crazy. If you want, the government mandates and codes just about everything that happens in a building. It'd be really easy just to make, a stall for everyone. And maybe individually stalled urinals. You could make a design code that and force people to build buildings where it doesn't matter who goes into what bathroom. You still get privacy. It's real simple stuff, people. Okay, I'm not an architect. It's just really simple to just nip things in the bud. But everybody wants to have a big debate. Oh my God, you're ruining the children, Doug Owen. Just thinking about these things and not making sure that, and I'm not one of these people that, thinks that you should have crazy curriculum telling you not to talk about girls and boys. I mean, it gets so weird. And I'm sure for select few people out there that, and I wouldn't go as far as to say that they have a mental illness, but they have a conflict. If you feel like you're a boy and you're really a woman, you have this conflict. And it's hard to have the state resolve that for you. So, anyway, we will continue the conversation no matter how off the wall it may become. More coming your way. It's Blacklisted Radio. All right, welcome back. It's Blacklisted Radio. I'm your host, Doug Owen, and I am joined by Craig Simpson, former producer of the Doomcast podcast, and it may be resurrected at some point. If I apologize for all of the horrible things that I've said over the years, we might resurrect that. Craig is a good friend, and he has just come off of a media fast, so it should be interesting to see what you've been pontificating and thinking about. And now that I've kind of thrust you back into looking at the headlines and looking at, this, I don't know, it's just completely contrived storylines that it seems to me are, as usual, intended to irritate, to obfuscate, and to get people really riled up and looking for solutions ultimately that will take them nowhere. But that's just another day in the empire when it comes right down to it. So what have you been up to?
Okay, well, like I said, I've been doing a media fast, and I'd almost suggest it to people if you get too depressed, because you can, if you're kind of a news hound, if you're drawn to it, if you're the kind of person who's checking out Zero Hedge every day and Blacklisted News, and you're looking at all manner of stuff, and you're following your Twitter feeds and your endless forms of hopelessness, right?
Well, so yes, maybe.
I put that sarcastically because it's not really hopeless, but I mean, there's plenty. So
a lot of people feel that way. I'm
sarcastic.
Sure.
Yeah, and so I think you can get over. So for me, I decided I'm not too sure how long. I think it's been like 2 weeks now, but maybe I'll go a month or so. And it's just a matter of just you can't really. News comes and gets you, but I still like to listen to some commentary podcasts. I mean, I still get emails from all kinds of stuff, just people about things. You get people forward you things, and then also, it's good every day to just ask people that you work with, did anything blow up today? But it is because it's
just a cursory update, okay? Did Greece did they default? Are the bank runs happening? What's going on? Should I get some cash out of the bank and that kind of thing?
And they will look at you right in the face and say, "What?"
What?
Which is just as depressing. So, I think that it's good to take a little time off when people. Just my suggestion, because it's something I'm doing, is just take a little time off once in a while if you feel you need to. And just be happy. It's like, I mean, sometimes it can feel like the burden of fixing everything is on you, and it really isn't. It takes a lot of people, and I think that. So I've been taking kind of a little break to not burn out. Even though not all the news is hopeless, but sometimes you can just get in a place where you just don't want to hear. You just don't want to hear anymore, and. It's amazing I've noticed what kind of an addiction it can be. Like, well, what do you do with your phone if you don't check out the news? Like if you go to the bathroom, what are you going to do? I guess you got to read a magazine or something. You can't check out Zero Hedge or whatever. So anyhow, I'm finding it to be good for their mental health. And the truth is, even without actively paying attention, I still in general know what's going on because you really can't escape it.
That's the thing. No matter how much you want to escape, it's hard to, because of all the technical infrastructure that we have and just its constant coverage. Speaking of which, we were going to go to the phone lines if you'd like to chime in. 1-800-313-9443. To Houston we go, and we talk to Gene. Gene, what's up? Thanks for waiting.
The thing you have to realize with Zero Hedge is that all of what he basically does is sponsor advertisers who are trying to sell physical gold and silver. So the bottom line of all of his stories is to tell you that you should buy physical gold and silver. He's basically just an advertising vehicle.
Very popular one.
Right, he's very popular, but basically that's all it is. Every story that he tells, what you're supposed to glean from it is that you should buy from his sponsors, the advertisers on his website, their gold and silver. To me, the guy's just bogus.
Well, there you go. All right.
It sounded like you were saying earlier tonight that you believe that all of the mass shooters have been on psychiatric medications?
One form or another, almost all of them. I mean, I'm sure there's one or two that we don't have proof of, and it's really hard to get a lot of that information because of privacy laws or just lack of transparency by government. But a lot of them.
Well, I mean, you think like the Manson family, for example, do you think they were on psychiatric medications?
There's a lot of questionability about who was behind the Manson murders. I mean, if you look at the weird stuff that was going on at Laurel Canyon, we talk about that for days. I don't definitively know, but I've read about Laurel Canyon and about the mind control and the experiments the CIA was conducting, and the connections to the guy that ran Jet Propulsion's laboratory.
If you're speaking about Dave McGowan, he's a fraud. Yeah, he's a fraud. Dave McGowan is a guy who realizes that he can sell books with conspiracy theories about rock stars because there's a demand for it. Dave McGowan is an absolute fraud.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was David Gowan. I've heard different interviews over the years, and I've seen some literature and read stuff on the internet, but I haven't read any cover to cover books about it, so I'm not really an aficionado. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that embellish stories and write stories. I mean, just to defend Zero Hedge, most of their ads are Google ads, and they're aggregated because of the content that's on his website. So I don't think that every ad that you see on Zero Hedge. I know that every ad that you see on Zero Hedge, maybe there may be too many of them, but most of it's because of algorithmic keywords talking about gold or economic collapse. I see that with blacklistednews.com. So
Zero Hedge, he's been wrong for. I mean, I've been following him for 6 or 7 years. The guy's always wrong. He passes himself off as some sort of expert. Yeah, the guy's an absolute fraud.
So anyway, I mean, what was your original point? You were talking about the psychotropic drugs and Charles Manson.
Right, now, do you believe that the Sandy Hook? What happened at Sandy Hook?
But what's your what are you trying to get at? What is your question or your point?
My question is.
I've got lots of opinions, sir. You could ask them all night long. I'm just asking, what is the point that you're trying to make about my opinion, I guess?
The question I'm asking is whether you believe that fellow who pulled off the murders...
Would it matter what I thought, sir? I mean, I just want you to get to your point, that you think, whatever it is that you're trying to get to.
Well, may I ask you a question rather than make a comment?
You've asked a bunch of questions, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, my question is, at Sandy Hook,
right?
Do you believe that was a hoax?
I mean, I don't know what you're referring to. Like that there was crisis actors, that it didn't happen the way the government said. But I mean, what's your question? I mean, that's just do you think 9/11 was an inside job? Do you think this? Do you think that? What does it matter?
Well, it matters to me, Doug. Why don't you tell us what's your theory about Sandy Hook?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what I have, and I appreciate the phone call. I really do, Craig. I mean, Gene there. Sandy Hook, a lot of questions. The forensic evidence was quickly wiped away. When you look at the destruction of the crime scene, it's always kind of questionable. Do I think that there were crisis actors or any of the other things that are, kind of dubious? No. But there have been some pretty wild things that have happened with the media, like the CNN footage of the school that they showed over and over again was not accurate. It was from another school. You could say that's laziness, incompetence. We've seen just so many inconsistencies in the story that you have to ask yourself, why all of the secrecy? And I don't have a great answer. I don't know exactly what happened, and so I don't purport to know everything. But I do, like most people should, deduct that when there's secrecy, that's usually a bedfellow of dishonesty. And I don't know if you'd want to speak to that, Craig. What you think of Sandy Hook, or what compels you by the state a version or of the events or the inconsistencies, anomalies that make you maybe question it more? I've never asked you.
It's tough. Well, for me, I've read a good deal on it, and I've listened to people's commentary on it who've spent, I think, a good deal of time on it, and it seems like everything else along those lines these days, every official story is quickly found to be questionable and, at least to some extent, impossible. But I guess one of the things that bothers me is, does it matter if you know? I mean, we know a lot of things, and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, if you look at 9/11 these days, most people, it's getting to be kind of, you will find it hard, I think you'd find it hard to find anybody these days who doesn't question that on some level, or at least hasn't heard of something they want to read more about, or hasn't seen loose change, which is kind of weak, but still, it's getting to be almost like mainstream knowledge. I mean, just common people knowledge that 9/11 probably didn't happen. They at least know there's something wrong with the story, but it doesn't matter. So, right. Not to be pessimistic, but everything that happens like that is found to be questionable. You know, to some extent, the story is impossible, but it doesn't matter.
Right, yeah, and you find the inconsistencies in the number of shots or whatever it may be, the number of shell casings that they found. You find all, the date that they put the obituary, the death certificate. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that, and you have to watch out too, because there's a lot of people that poison the well and put things out there just for, just for entertainment, or just to get, people to click on it because they enjoy putting out, the more absurd conspiracies, the more attention sometimes they get. So, there's a lot of that, but you're right. I mean, that's what really bothers me about many of these stories. And I think you were talking about the burnout. The thing that I used to believe that I don't believe now is that if everybody knew, then it would change the situation, or that things would happen. And I learned that, and it was kind of a depressing point where I wrote, okay, now people have heard about limited government. Ron Paul's there, and he's on the stage, and he's telling them, hey, let's shut down the Fed. The Fed's a private bank. Let's do it, people. Did you know it's a private bank? I didn't know it was a private bank. And people are like, yeah, it's because it's a private bank. So, same thing with the JFK assassination. I mean, talk about it till the end of time. It doesn't matter. Get 85% of the people to know about it, and it doesn't turn into a political response. Same thing with the assassination of these churchgoers in South Carolina. Okay, let's say what is the solution? Well, when the government and the media get together, the solution for the people is, we'll burn the rebel flag, we'll deface property, we'll riot. So, even when you have like a consensus and people are riled up for something, they're usually just distracted rational people into taking, these tokens, sacrificial, things that mean nothing. Okay, we'll take down the rebel flag. Okay, now what's that going to do again? We don't know, but it's going to appease you. Okay, because the media told you to be upset about it. So it's a profound question.
Exactly. Like, it doesn't really matter if people know stuff. So once we figure that one out, okay, it doesn't matter if people know stuff. Well, unless they're kind of dumb, then it matters, because that's what was sponsored. That's what they were supposed to know. So if you're smart and you know stuff, it doesn't make a difference. So, I almost have been kind of thinking and doing like my own kind of personal media blackout. Well, if it doesn't matter if people know stuff, then what do you do? And I don't say that from a hopeless perspective. Just that, even a majority of people knowing something, knowing
what it is.
Matter, I think it doesn't matter.
It's because you see the inconsistencies and how stupid it is, and that's what makes you upset. That's what drives me nuts. That's why I have to just take it with, teaspoons of sugar. Just like, oh, people, don't fall for it again. That's what, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're having the wrong debate. You're not looking over there. You're getting upset about something that, it had. the rebel flag did not motivate this guy, and them taking it down is not going to change the world that we live in. And you get upset because I think big mobs of angry people can get policy to change, can get governments to move, and I hate to see them wasted on silly things. It's like, oh, you got a good, you know what I mean?
Give them, it's like give them machetes and you've got South Africa. Great. I mean, they all knew something. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, worked out for them.
Yeah, we all knew the government was corrupt. Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of people find this, very confusing place that you're in, because I mean, for a long time, I believed that if everyone knew that 9/11 was an inside job, that the government and elements inside of it not only helped make it happen, but perpetrated it itself, and that it would have taken many safety gaps to be removed before something like this could happen. And of course, the response that has been the creation of the Department of Homeland Security and trillions of dollars in the aggregate that has been spent on domestic spying and really U.S. imperialism and the tools to do it in the 21st century. That's when people, this is funny. It's kind of really makes me feel silly, but I'm an honest guy. I thought when Charlie Sheen talked about 9/11 being an inside job, that was gonna. When he talked about it on Jay Leno or the Tonight Show. Oh, that was gonna, everybody's looking at 9/11. I mean, I was really excited. There was a lot of fervor because it was like, okay, the reason people aren't activating and being politically aware is because they don't know. But once they know, it's going to change things. And I think that what happened was once people started to know, then along with the internet, people started to understand the global conversation that's really happening. Started understanding, there's think tanks, there's plenty of policy institutes that are out there that, have white papers and talk about the end of the world and all that interesting and fun stuff. We'll continue the conversation. You can chime in. Your thoughts are welcome. As always, it's Blacklisted Radio.
Wanted more time to do what you always wanted to do. And now you got it, and I must be high to say goodbye.
And welcome back. It's the final segment right here on Blacklisted Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in, and check out the website blacklistedраdio.com, where you can find archives of the show, as well as a bevy of tools to use to let people know about the broadcast, free of charge. Lots of cool stuff there. So check it out. Craig Simpson, our guest, my friend, and having a pretty fun conversation. I think a lot of people, if you've been paying attention to the media over the last 2 weeks, you are like me, and I think Craig, that just need a decompression away from all of the hype and irrationality that is infuriating. That's what infuriates me. People being irrational, not doing anything and spinning their wheels. And we've talked about this. Environmentalists that are actually hurting the environment. Nothing makes me madder than you people out there that are buying Priuses and you're buying a wind farm and you're investing in alleged green technologies that are scams. Solyndra, all of these things. It feels good. Let's just do it. No, it's not. It's counterproductive. It's a waste of energy, and it's actually not good for the environment. And the fact that you just continue to do it, even though you've been shown facts, you've been, you've entered into the debate. I can't find anything that kind of frustrates me more. So that's when I turn off the TV. I'm just like, I don't need to entertain a debate with people that are now worshipping at the altar of science.
Oh yeah, I think Peter Diamandis' book Abundance. If a person don't buy it, but if you have to meet at the bookstore and you brush through it, you'll see he's really a futurist. He talks about all the new technologies that are showing up and how the world's changing, and you go, this is really cool, but it's creepy. It's so creepy. Along with what you were saying,
we were actually talking about that off air, like the idea that there is abundance, but that you have to jump into the transhumanist society to obtain that. It's like, well, what would you give up to have total security? Mm-hmm.
When everyone's wearing Google Glass, and of course, so right now we all love Google Earth. It's great because you can look around. But what happens when Google Glass is being downloaded? It's being uploaded to the cloud to Google, and pretty much you can say, well, what's inside this room in this house,
right?
And literally that's the future. Like there'll be no place that cannot be seen, at least with a recent picture.
Okay, so
if people are walking around with Google Glass.
You're a tech genius, okay? You're what one of the cronies Hillary Clinton referred to as a techno expert. So, one of the things I think about when I look at big data, right? Knowing everything, keeping everything you do. At some point, big data seems to be just a huge amount of energy being created just to keep big data. And at some point, Craig, and it's just my question to you, or my thought on it has been that at some point the government will realize it's all just a bunch of crap. Who cares what I ate for breakfast? Picture of my waffles on Twitter. Nobody cares. You know what, man? We're out of time. Go ahead. Take us out.
I can say that companies are doing that with big data all the time. Let's just store all this crap in like a non-formatted way. Let's just keep throwing it.
Just like this podcast. Just like this podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Thanks for being on the show, guys. We're out of time. Unfortunately, love to do it again. We will do it again next week. Until then, take care.
With financial uncertainty circling the globe due to job losses, decline in the housing market, a climate of corruption,
man. Appreciate
bailouts,
it as always,
currency
brother.
rigging, and unfair competition, many are once more turning to precious metals as the only hedge against the uncertainty of the future.
Hi, everybody.
With the U.S. House conducting hearings on proposals to come.
All right, let's call Craig back. Craig, pick up the phone. I probably ran. I only had 30 minutes anyway. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks. Thought it was at least topical. I don't know. Will it stand the test of time? We'll find out. Hopefully you liked it, and if you did, support us. No commercial advertisements are endorsed ever. You are not sold to advertisers. Your time, your attention, your lifeblood is not given to others to buy any products other than the show itself and to support me for doing it. So that's transparency. That's how things should work. And to be able to do it and to be able to support it being completely free. And, well, we can't really support it. It's supported by you. So for you out there that have done it this month, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And if you haven't, consider a small token of your appreciation for this valuable show. And the more value I find, the more I will put into the show. Hold on. Talk to Craig for a second. Yo, this is the post show with the people listening on the stream.
Oh, I was going to say that, no, big companies are doing that. So I work with some big data, without giving names. But no, companies are doing that too. They're like, let's just, keep storing everything. Let's store server logs. Let's do all of our point of sale, info. Let's just, keep and keep and keep and keep. The thing about big data is that, back in the day, not too long ago, you had to think, you had to massage data, you had to put it into a database. You couldn't just put crap in there, and storage cost more. And so you kind of had to take your data and think and massage that and actually only save what was useful and be poignant, Well, now you can install that shit in a bucket, and just keep doing it forever. And I would say that you're actually very, very correct, because right now they're like in let's just record everything mode, but one of the things that happens is reality eventually hits that you got to pay for that. You got to pay to store it somewhere. You got to pay to possibly back it up, and it just keeps getting more and more and more and more expensive till eventually, I think what the government's going to do, which is what companies do, is they go, okay, so this just gets infinitely more expensive, harder to manage, and could we see some value to these, millions or billions that we're spending? And some dude in the back room is like, no, not really. and they say, well, maybe we could actually extract some decent data, but that'll take 100 programmers all making like $300 an hour.
Right.
And maybe we can get you some data, but we probably can't. We're just gonna, butt rape you, basically. We're gonna just take, we're gonna make crap tons of money, and then just say we couldn't come up with shit. And if we come up with anything, it may or may not have value. So, yeah, no, you're exactly right. It happens on the small scale. It happens on the Fortune 1000 scale, Fortune 500 scale in companies, and I think it's the same thing the government's doing. The government just has a crap ton of money that it can throw at it, and I don't. Big data. It's like a lot of things. It's a fad. It's like cloud. Eventually, we'll have something else. We'll say big data. Well, we've realized that now small data is what's next. Here's a little bit of your brain. Targeted data. How about useful data?
Right, because big data is just a big mess. Now you need targeted, curtailed data. Yeah, that's the way it goes, man.
Yeah.
The next thing. I was like, man, I should have started a Rebel Flag company selling them online the day before all this crap went down. I'd be doing pretty well right now. Yeah, man, it's American. It's patriotic. Buy Rebel Flag from Doug Owens, rebelflags.com.
Made in Austin, Texas.
Made in Austin, Texas. Speaking of made in Austin, Texas, I've been selling some cigars. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I got. I donated to No Agenda, and they gave a shout out, and I gave them a coupon code.
Oh, cool.
Where 10% goes back to the show. And
cool.
Yeah, so they put in coupon code. So tired. No Agenda, then you get 10% off, and so people have been doing that. And I can also track how many of them are actually from No Agenda. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's great. See, that's
on the way,
data.
That is targeted data. Well, and it's kind of like the value for value, okay? So people might value that I'm sponsoring them, and then they know that the show, when they make a purchase, actually sponsors the show more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's valid, a lot more targeted than Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I spent $200, and I think I've recouped like $134. So.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, not initially for any kind of anything.
Anything that works has that value, or doesn't if you don't lose too much. Like I learned, just like from my one of the technologies I work with, the Cisco UCS systems, like my blog on that. It gets like 100 to 300 unique visits a day, which is not a big deal. But, and I don't make any money. I mean, it makes enough in ads, it can't even pay for itself. But, like in
you're not getting
Amazon,
rich like all of us? Come on.
No, I'm not getting rich. But like Amazon, what do they call it? When you make money off the links from things people buy on Amazon. Yeah. Like, it has maybe in a couple of years I've had it made $7. So probably not that much. But the thing is, though, it does get traffic, and I can analyze, what kind of blog posts work, what doesn't. I know that original content that is valid gets, tremendous traffic. And so even with that, I've learned I if I ever had a blog of significance, I could do a lot better with it than I used to be able to. I mean, I learned things that you only learn through doing it, So, I mean, that's like great. I don't know. Yeah, I see everything. I always get excited about stuff like that. It seems small, but it really isn't, because you just learned a crap ton just by doing that.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot. I mean, the cigar business is different. It's different. It's hard. It's hard because there's a lot of other people, and so to get to be where that you're actually recognized, You got to have two things. Actually, I coined this last night. You can steal it out there. The 3 Ps. You got to have promotion. Well, first off, you have to have product. Got to have a great product, no matter what, right? Product, promotion, and price. So the product has to be great. The promotion has to reach the people that are willing to buy whatever it is. And the price has to be right for the people that you reach. The 3 Ps of
product,
business. Yeah.
Product, promotion, and price. Okay, so, I'm looking forward to your book coming out.
How to Lose a Lot of Money in a Business by Doug Owen.
Well, it's funny, but it's something that I notice about, maybe because I just look at these things too much, but like people who are successful, you might say, like they've done well in some field. Like there's a great podcast, like the Tim Ferriss podcast, the guy who wrote 4 Hour, Body and 4 Hour Work Week and such.
Right.
And he has this podcast, and he it's all about and he has everybody from, there's nobody, like he'll have people on that you think are cool and people whose existence on this planet will offend you, but he's really driven. He just wants to know what is it that people who are, peak performers in some field, how do they do it, and it's kind of, one of the things I found with all these characters who make a few million, they are a CEO, they've got companies, whatever they do, it's like, that's what I realize is some people get frustrated trying to emulate those people and then make money or be successful, and you realize that, most of those guys were in the right place at the right time. They pretty much tripped into their success, and it's really up to like you to figure out like how you're going to do it. I think people always are out there looking around, okay, I'm going to read the book by so-and-so who was one of the founders of Facebook or this or that,
Looking for some kind of secret insight, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't exist because those guys mostly, if they actually could truly tell you how to be successful, they would be trillionaires and they would give seminars. But they're not. They give seminars and people walk out going, okay, I know now that I have to be positive. I need to smile when I feel like killing myself, and I need to like double my mouse speed, and then I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. And you're like, how much do you pay for that seminar? Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope nothing.
Yeah. I think the 3 Ps are pretty much it. That would be a great promotion. It's really simple. The idea is that whatever you have, I don't care, whatever your widget or the service is that you sell, it's got to reach the people that need it or want it, and it has to be a price that they think is fair, and that. Like things like cigars or any kind of consumable product, it's about, reselling that to the same people because there's not a huge market. Whereas, if you sell light switches, everybody needs a light switch sooner or later. Or most people that build your house for you. There's 10 light switches for every person in America, right? So everybody everybody needs a light switch. So some things, not everybody needs a cupcake. Not everybody needs a bottle of wine.
I do, though. A cupcake and a bottle of wine, I would consider that, when I don't have that, society's over. Shit's hit the fan. That's it.
It's over.
Thank God I'm a prepper. Thank God I'm a prepper.
You got wine and all the cupcakes you need in your underground tunnel. I've got a key to the underground tunnel to LA, so, I'm going to be in the underground city. Sorry to all of you slaves out there. You're going to have to feel the piper. Yeah, I guess that guy that somebody said it was Russ, the RBN troll, that called. It's like, dude, what does it matter what I think, man? I've learned a long time ago, that I only know what I know, and I can only know so much. That's all there is to it. There's certain things you can deduct from the amount of information you have, and you make a guess. Okay, was Sandy Hook an inside job? Well, I've looked at a lot of available information. At least most of the stuff you can trust, and you know what you can't trust, and it kind of gives you an idea of how much you want to buy into it. For me, it's not really the tragedy or how it happened, it's the response and what happens afterwards. Because trying to explain to people that the government does this doesn't seem to change their minds about the reaction. The government overthrew the Shah or overthrew, Mossadegh. Okay. Okay. So
problem reactions. Yeah, the whole idea of problem reaction solution, and that they actually are. You come up with your plan kind of in reverse. Well, you got the solution you want, and now you engineer it. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to know, if someone wants to ask me that, do I think that was a farce, was a fake, how real was it, what happened? I'm like, well, to me, I look at what it was used for, and that's who did it. So that's just my take on it. I mean, or if not, they're still scum. So. I mean, nothing's new. I mean, you know what I mean? I think a great question for
right, because the response, or if it was organic or not organic, the response by the media and the people would be the same, right? Gun control advocates would say, it's not guns, it's because we have no guns, or not enough guns. People that hate guns will say, it's because we have too many guns. So no matter what happens, whether it was organic or not organic, the same conversation, if you will, happens, and the same talking points. So, yeah, did they have to, do things like 9/11 or, big events to push through legislation? Yeah, they do, but, not everything in the world is or is not. Shouldn't dismiss it either. It's just, I can't. I'm sorry, I'm just not a forensic expert on everything in the world. Every time somebody dies, I'm not out there with, my own team.
No, I got you. I think people need to read it's fine. I think people need to read the Tao Te Ching, because then you can get into like the not even seeing a paradox in things, and I think it helps people be more sane. So I'd say, hey, people who are trying to figure this out, read the Tao Te Ching, because was it a conspiracy? Yes. Was it not? Yes. Wait, that's jacked. Just keep reading. Work on it. Read it every year.
Well, it's like World War II. Was it an inside
exactly.
job? Well, yeah, everybody knew it was happening.
Yes. Were there any good guys? Yes. Were there any good guys? No. Were there any bad guys? Not exactly. Were there any bad guys? Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, exactly. Yeah, and exactly.
The devil's in the details, my friends. Always.
Yeah, I think a great question to me, like I've gotten out of the whole media fast thing, or personal media blackout, which can only be partial, but still is, like now that we know, what next? And that's the thing. That's what I'm on to. It's like, okay, now that everybody knows, we know things. Well, what do you do about it? Because obviously it doesn't make a difference. And I think that there's a great thing. So I've been watching the Women's World Cup. On soccer, and something I saw, I saw a great analogy to a lot of things. So Nigeria was playing, and they were pretty good, and they could get the ball 3/4 of the way down the field, but that last quarter where you set up to actually make a goal, they blew it every time. It just fell apart. And I look at that, I think that's what we've got right now, where people who know, so okay, we know something, we make it 3/4 of the way down the field, and then we can't score the goal. So how do we make it that last quarter and make a difference? How does knowing something matter?
I think that you have to. It's kind of like math. You have to you can't just know the answer, right? You have to be able to understand how you arrive at that answer. So it's like one thing to know, like you're right? It's pretty easy. Like I'm right, but the question is, what makes it right? Does that make any sense to you? Like you can't if you don't have the understanding of why it's really wrong. Like if you're like, oh well, it's because they did it to us, but it's like it's because they did it, and if they did it to anyone, it would be wrong. You know what I mean? You got to understand really how politics works and just how human interaction works to kind of really glean what the answer is, because really the answer is that just because you know something, that doesn't mean that you know what to do with it. It might make you mad and make you feel violent, which is usually the emotional response to being deceived by anybody. So that's pretty simple. I
also think that it just comes down to maybe you can't do anything about it. Maybe knowing will never make a difference on a certain level. But I think so much of life just comes down to a very personal level. I mean, how do you live your life? I think that it makes your life better because you can live in, like, anybody who doesn't live in the real world has a hard time. I look at like the yoga teacher mentality. I don't do negative. I don't do negative. Well, then you don't experience half of life, if that. So it's almost like, to just, the person who can see clearly, I think, so knowing helps you. Maybe nobody else. Maybe it doesn't, make the country a better place or world a better place, but it can make your survival a lot more pleasurable, because you're not fooled. Like, you can predict for yourself where things are going, and you can be ready for that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. You can only change yourself, and by knowing the truth when it comes to anything, or knowing more about it than other people, puts you in an advantage. And if you understand why it is that the TV lies to you, then it doesn't infuriate you nearly as much. It doesn't confuse you. You don't become confused. You don't engage in cognitive dissonance. You understand why the things are the way they are, because you understand, the criminality, how the system works, how, people, in media and government have always used dogma, sex, violence, war, God, all of those things to, get their way. And so when you see it on TV and you're like, oh, these people, why is it so bad? And it's like, oh, that's why. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of closure there. You're like, oh yeah, it's because it's run by a bunch of assholes. All right, I get it. Oh,
yeah, and how can, and what can I do in my own life to ensure that I'm happy, healthy, and wise while, shit burns down?
Well, and you can not to trust, right?
For sure, yeah, exactly, I don't even mean it like from a defensive point of view, like, what do I have to do to protect myself? No, just, knowing, the greater your knowledge is, then just the better your survival is. You have more fun.
The better, the more you
have more fun.
The more you know, the better decisions you make, because you have more information to consider to make an overall informed, opinionated viewpoint. That's it, Sandy Hook, I know that the cops are lying. CNN shows you fake footage. I can tell you that half the shit you saw on TV isn't fucking real, because either A, they're just lazy, or B, because it's part of a huge media psyop with crisis actors. I don't think it's quite that, but I do think that there's a lot more to the story, and there probably is. But, what was the reaction? Oh, more gun control. I knew that beforehand, so... And telling people if I convince the people that the government did Sandy Hook, I don't think the response would be any different. People are like, well, that doesn't matter because it's like gun control in the UK. Well, now we need knife control. Well, okay, now we got knife control. Now we need ice pick control. Now we need bat control. Now we need pepper spray. You can't just emasculate the world, and if you think that you're helping. You're absolutely not. You can't fight these things. You can't change people wanting to hurt one another, people wanting to exploit and steal from one another. The only thing you can do to change that is just have people that are in better, financial situations, better educated, and the ones that aren't, you have to pay for, locking them up or killing them. That's all there is to it. It's not rocket science,
Yeah. And
you can't ban everybody.
That rundown's very good.
You can't ban everything.
We can't
from
ban
everybody.
Everyone.
Can't ban me from.
Gosh, that was a Jello Biafra lecture. I remember, Jello Biafra used to do a lot of. I guess he still does. The guy from Dead Kennedys I remember I saw him do some. I'm not totally into his message, but I remember seeing him on a spoken word tour, and he was one of his little segments was ban everything.
It's true, man.
It was along those lines, yeah.
We're almost there. We have to.
The convenience.
I'll give you an example.
The conveniences you've come to, and yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We just got a little lag here. No, I was just gonna say every time I try to turn this stupid Samsung phone up, it's like, warning: media device can hurt your eardrums. I'm like, I know that. I've clicked this fucking button 37 times to turn it up because I'm trying to jam some tunes here. It's like, are you sure you want to go that loud? It's going to hurt your ears. Like, yes, I know the coffee's hot. I know the sound too loud will hurt my ears. I know that if I fart and sneeze at the same time, there's a chance that I could spontaneously combust. I know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
For,
so
it's thanks for nothing. That's what it is. Okay. Well, we're doing things to protect you. What? You're not protecting me. You thanks for nothing. That's what the government does. Thanks for nothing, making everything stupid. But it's safer because people don't know that if they listen to sound at 700 plus dB that it's going to blow their eardrums out. They just don't know. It's like, really? People don't know that if they smoke cigarettes, it could give them cancer. They just don't know, Doug. They don't know.
Oh yeah, that whole story. That people back in the day, before there was the Surgeon General's warning, didn't know that smoking was bad for you. I'm like, come on, man. Like, all right, whatever, whatever. But yeah, exactly.
They all suck. Craig, I'm out of here, man. Love you, bro. It was good. We should do this more often. If you get bored next Sunday, let me know. We'll pontificate, and I'll bring some stories and better. I just wanted to talk about freaking people talking about non-issues that have no resolution, and the resolve and the situation that they're being handed does nothing to help them or even promote what should be promoted. So,
yeah, I think that's a good question. Along with. Now what next is what are you being distracted from? It's almost like let's not pay those stories quite so much attention because it's more like what's going on, like the TPP being passed while we're worrying about stupid shit.
Right.
Right.
Things that really do affect us. These things, they only affect us because I think they affect the psyche and they drive people crazy. And so I felt like, well, if you were on a media sabbatical, then we should just touch it.
Oh no, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm just speaking this. I guess more on the lines of just kind of following up with that idea of now we know what next, along with what is the current what are the current stories distracting from what's behind those but that I know that, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people know that.
It's because they're not very bright, my friend. Not very bright at all.
Just ask them.
Just ask them. Are you bright? I don't know. Yeah. No, it's a combination in my mind that it's people that aren't very bright or are they're just vested and they can turn a blind eye to whatever it is because it's self-serving or it just makes things easier. They don't want to confront things that may make them, have to invest. If you think that there's a lot of evil going on in the world, you feel compelled to tell other people about it or to respond to it. And if you don't see any evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. I didn't say that in the right structure, but
right context.
Yeah. Hear no evil, speak no, see no evil, speak no evil. Big deal.
It reminds me of there was a great YouTube. I might have sent it to you. This guy. So anyway, like on farms, I never knew this, where like they tend to keep the dogs away from the sheep and the goats unless they're hurting them, because basically the dogs will see the sheep and the goats eating grass and think they should too, and then like die, and so and have like barf all the time. And I think that's a lot of what it comes down to. People are just it's what's it's what everybody else is doing. So, and there you go. I guess it's a common problem on farms. You got to keep the the dogs, so when they're not hurting the sheep and the goats and the lambs, you got to keep them away, or else they become sheep and lambs and goats because they're kind of dumb on that level.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, look, they don't know the difference. They're like, look at those big dogs over there eating grass. It looks delicious. All right, brother.
Yeah, I'm always hungry, and they're I'm always hungry, and like
it's infinite. There's a huge amount of that over there.
Yeah, if I could just eat forever, wow. Mm-hmm. Even if it was grass, I'm going for it.
People do it all the time, my friend. All right, brother. Be good.
Talk to you later.
Bye.